Chapter 8 April 1st day dawned clear and sunny. The aged knights and training assistants ate a hearty breakfast. Then they went outside. Bring out our noble steeds, cried Sir Potterdup. Sorry, said Don Don, as he drove a large hay wagon, pulled by two grey horses out of the stable. No steeds. No problemo, said Sir Roger. He and the other aged knights jumped onto the back of the wagon. Wiglaf and his friends jumped on too. Giddy up, Rosa. Giddy up, Bella, Don Don said to his horses. Let's go. The ride was bumpy, but none of the aged knights complained, Wiglaf thought. They all seemed glad to be out in the world again. At last, a dark stone castle came into view. There it is, Erica said, pointing. Dragon Slayer's Academy. Wiglaf looked with fondness at his school. How he hoped the aged knights would be able to save it from Griselgor's flames. Don Don stopped the hay wagon at the foot of the drawbridge. All his passengers hopped off. Uncle Mordred, called Angus as he ran across the drawbridge. Auntie Lobelia, he pounded on the great wooden doors. Wiglaf waited on the bridge and with Erica, Janice, Don Don, and the aged knight. He stared up at the castle. The great wooden doors were shut. The iron bars had been let down in front of the doors. All the windows were shuttered. The essay was ready for Griselgor. Angus pounded on the doors again. Open up, he cried. We know how to save the essay from Griselgor. At last, Frypot, the school cook, flung open the doors. He stared past Angus at the ragged group of aged knights. Looking for a bite to eat? Are you, my good fellows? He asked. Come in. I will fix you some of my good lumping pudding. Lumping pudding? Cried one of the aged knights. That's what they served at school when we were lads. We didn't like it then, said another knight, and we don't like it now. Before Private had a chance to offer them any of his eel stew, Lobelia came up behind him. Welcome, knights, she said. Thank you for coming. Senorita L, Don Don said, bowing. He took Lady Lobelia's hand and brought it to his lips. What a pleasure to see you once more. Oh, Don, squealed Lady Lobelia. Likewise. Angus rolled his eyes. Auntie, he groaned. Please, everyone, come in, said Lobelia. They all walked through the gatehouse and into the castle yard. Wiglaf was surprised to see Mordred in the castle yard. He had on his red silk traveling cloak and hat. He was sitting by the scrubbing block on a huge pile of luggage. The students are in class, Lobelia said, keeping her voice low. I'm trying to keep things as they always are. I don't want anyone to panic because a dragon is coming. She glanced at Mordred and rolled her eyes. Come to my sitting room, knights. You too, Don. She smiled and batted her eyes. Angus, she added, you are your friends. Come help me get these knights into their DSA uniforms. This looks just like my old school, said Sir Potterdup, as they headed for the castle. Makes me feel like a lad again, said Sir Roger. When they entered Lady Lobelia's sitting room, Wiglaf saw that she had laid out many DSA uniforms by size. Pick out your size, said Lobelia. You can go behind the screen to change. Sir Potterdup and 9 other aged knights quickly grabbed up the 10 lads' uniforms. They scurried behind the screen. All that's left are lassies' uniforms, cried Sir Roger. The point is to afford Griselgor, said Lady Lobelia. Go on, pick out a uniform. Sir Roger and the other knights did not look happy as they picked up their lassies' uniforms. They too went behind the screen. Minutes later, all the knights came out again, clad in DSA tunics and breeches. Wiglaf's eyes grew wide as he looked at the many spindly old legs sticking out from under the uniforms, and at the white-haired heads above the tunics. Wiglaf swallowed. Would Grizzelgor be fooled? He hoped so. I feel like a lad again, exclaimed Sir Polydop. He turned around to show off his uniform. Well, I don't, said Sir Roger, who was clad in one of the lassie's uniforms. He folded his arms across his chest. Maybe this will help, said Lobelia. She plucked a wig of blonde curls onto his bald pate. Then she stepped back to admire it. Very nice, she said. She began putting wigs of different colors on all the aged knights dressed as lassies. Wiglaf hurried over to Sir Roger. You are indeed a hero, sir, Wiglaf told him, no matter how you are dressed. Thank you, lad, said Sir Roger, perking up. I needed that. We need a dress rehearsal of the dance moves with the students, said Sir Polydop. Let us go out to the castle yard. Wiglaf and his friends went out to the yard ahead of Don Don and the aged knights. They saw Mordred still sitting on his bags. Sir, called Wiglaf as Erica and Janice hurried over to Mordred. We have brought 16 knights from Ye Old. Enough! Boomed Mordred, holding up a golden-ringed hand. Did you catch sight of my scout Yorick on your way here? No, sir, said Erica. Mordred frowned. He was supposed to be here an hour ago to drive me and my gold to... He looked at them suspiciously. To a safe place. There is no need to hide your gold from Grizzelgor now, sir, said Janice. No? Mordred raised one bushy eyebrow. No, uncle, said Angus. The aged knights will save us from the dragon. Mordred frowned. Those old bags of bones don't stand a chance against Grizzelgor. They know his secret weakness, sir, said Wiglaf. 'Tis a poem, and they shall recite it to him. You mean my gold may be saved? Asked Mordred eagerly. Yes, uncle, said Angus. Your gold will be saved. Mordred grinned. Well, what your lads and lassies waiting for? He cried. Pick up my luggage, take it to my office. Get a move on. Now, chop chop. Wiglaf had just picked up a heavy bag when there was a commotion at the castle doors. He turned and saw DSA students pouring forth into the castle yard. Egad, cried Mordred. Don't let those ruffians near my gold. They're not ruffians, uncle, said Angus. They're your students. Let us out of there, the students cried, running for the gatehouse. Erica ran in front of them. As the future dragon slayer of the month, I order you to stop, she cried. All the lads and lassies stopped. There is no need to flee, said Erica. But a dragon is coming to flame the school, cried Charlie Marley. A dragon is coming, said Erica, but he won't flame the school because we have a secret weapon. All right, cheered the lads and lassies. A secret weapon. What is the secret weapon? Asked Marley. Just then the castle doors opened again. The aged knights came down the steps, dressed in DSA uniforms. Behold, said Erica, pointing to the castle doors, our secret weapon. All the lads and lassies turned toward the doors. When they saw the aged knights in the DSA uniforms, their jaw dropped open. That's your secret weapon? Cried Marley. A bunch of geezers? Cried Charlie Marley. Without waiting for an answer, they ran screaming for the gatehouse. Stop! Erica called after them. Wait! But they ran on, and as they ran, the sky above darkened. Wiglaf looked up. Great black clouds were rolling across the sky. The student stopped and looked up, too. The castle yard grew still. A sudden whoosh of bright orange flame cut through the clouds, and a voice rang out above them. The world's oldest living dragon, Grizzlegore, is his. Come out to greet me. Chapter 9. At the sound of Grizzlegore's voice, Mordred began to scream. All the students at the gatehouse screamed too. Cancel the dress rehearsals, Puddleduff called calmly over their screams. Students, line up, knights, get behind them. Wiglaf, Angus, and Janice lined up as Sir Puddleduff had asked. But Erica ran to the gatehouse. As the future Dragon Slayer of the month, I order you to stop screaming, she yelled. They stopped. You have to help save DSA, she told them. Go over with the aged knights, crowd around them. They will make it look like they are students. Yes, Erica, said Charlie Marley. Keep your eyes on Wiglaf, Janice, Angus, and me, she told them. Follow what we do, for if we fail, DSA will go up in flames. Yes, Erica, they all said. Erica ran back to the front of the formation. The other students crowded in among the aged knights. Forward, march, cried Sir Puddleduff. And all together they marched through the gatehouse, over the drawbridge, and onto the grass in front of DSA. Emboldened by such a large crowd, Mordred scampered after them. Wiglaf's heart beat like a drum as he went. Verses of the Grizzlegore poem skipped around inside his brain. Bits of the dance steps popped into his head. He felt dizzy. Look, look! Everyone started shouting. Wiglaf looked up. At first, he did not see Grizzlegore. Then he spotted the dragon curled on a tree branch not far from the drawbridge. He was sickly green color. The horn on his nose flopped sadly over to one side. He was badly bent and had a hump on his back. My, said Grizzlegore, his voice trembling with age. How nice that the whole school is coming out to greet me. The creature smiled. Wiglaf thought that for the world's oldest living dragon, he sure had a nice new set of false fangs. Let's not waste time, said Grizzlegore. I'm already old as the hills. Who knows how much time I have left? So, hand over your gold and I will be gone. Mordred elbowed his way to the front of the group. We will give you no gold, dragon, he cried. The shocked dragon's mouth dropped wide open. Wiglaf watched, horrified, as the fangs fell from his mouth. Drat my dentist, cried the dragon. There goes another set of choppers. Then, from his toothless mouth, he shot an angry tongue of flame so hot that everyone began to cough and sputter. Mordred's hair began to smoke. Jones, cried Mordred, I'm on fire. He zoomed over to the moat and plunged his head into the water. Go get the gold, Grizzlegore growled as best he could without his fangs. Bring it to me now, or your school is toast. Ready? And, called Sir Puddleduff, and everyone who had taken the time to learn the rhyme shouted out. In days of old, when knights were bold, Wiglaf and Erica jumped to face each other. They drew imaginary swords. Behind them, the aged knights and DSA students following along. All damsels knew the score. Everyone put their index fingers to their foreheads. A dragon kept hold of gold. Now they put their fingers up to their heads and made terrible angry faces. His name was Grizzlegore. Everyone held up their right hands in the shape of a claw. By my scales, cried the delighted dragon, You know the poem. Well, go on, go on. And so they did. Those who knew the rhyme recited it, and everyone did their best with the dance. Grijilgor lived in a cave outside the town of Gwal, and he was known to flame and rave. He had a spiky tail. After they said the first 8 verses, the aged knights had to recite on their own, but by the time Grijilgor was writhing with happiness at hearing himself immortalized in his poem, no one had anything to fear from this fire breather. The aged knight kept reciting. The dragon rose inside his cave. He lowered his massive head. The knights were bold and very brave, yet from the cave they fled. Now Grijilgor held up a claw for them to stop. That is one of my favorite verses, he told them. When the knights flee from the cave, I just love that. Mordred dared to speak again. Dragon, he said, there will be no more talk of wanting my gold, will there? Grijilgor shook his old head. No, saying the rhyme is payment enough, he said, although it does not leave me a bit short of cash. Before he thought about it, Wiglaf spoke up. You have the gold from the other dragon schools, he said. Isn't that enough? Enough? Huffed Grijilgor, puffing smoke from his nose. You think I have enough? Wiglaf trembled as he nodded. Then you know nothing of what surgeons are charging these days, the dragon said. Why, those greedy sawbones won't fix a simple ingrown claw for under 6,000 ducats. That's what you want the gold for? Cried Sir Roger. An operation? Grijilgor nodded. When you lived as long as I have, things get broken, he said. The old ticker is still going strong. I have a few centuries ahead of me yet, but I can hardly see the horn at the end of my snout anymore. My bones haven't held up. Both my hips are shot. My knees wobble like jelly custard. My ankles are as weak as newborn kittens. And oh, my aching back. We feel your pain, said Sir Purdoff. The dragon stared at him. Everyone was very still. Grijilgor glared at Sir Purdoff. You don't know what it's like to be old. No, of course we don't, said Sir Purdoff quickly. I only meant that we lads, lasses, will feel your pain one day when we are old like you. Grijilgor nodded, seeming to accept this explanation. My wings are the only things still working, he went on, but who knows how long they will last. Now Don Don stepped forward. He bowed before the dragon. Hola, Senor Grijilgor, he said. Perhaps I can help you. Por favor, please, may I take a look at your ankles? I am a trainer. Perhaps I can show you a few exercises to get them back in shape. What have I got to lose? Said Grijilgor. He slithered down from the tree and eased himself into a sitting position. He held out his left back paw. Uno, said Don Don. Taking the dragon's paw in his hands, he circled it sundial-wise a few times. Then, counter-sundial-wise, he had the dragon try it. Those, said Don Don. He had the dragon push his paw against his hand. Tress, said Don Don. Close your eyes and picture yourself running like a young dragon again. Grijilgor did as Don Don said. A smile appeared on his ancient face. Bueno, said Don Don. Let me see you put some weight on this paw. Grijilgor pushed himself up to a stand. He took a step on the left paw. Astonishing, he cried. Why, it feels fine. He sat down again quickly and held out his right rear paw. As Don Don began to suckle it, Grijilgor said, Maybe I don't need an operation after all. Maybe I need exercise. See, agreed Don Don. We will walk on your knees next. While Don Don took Grizzelgor through his exercise, Mordred, Lobelia, the aged knights, and all the students went back into the DSA castle. The students took the shutters off the slits in the castle wall. After that, Fryfast served an extra lumpy lumpen pudding for lunch. Then everyone went outside to check on Don Don and Grizzelgor. Wiglaf gasped when he saw the dragon. Grizzelgor's horn sat upright on his nose. He was walking tall and proud. Jones, cried Mordred, is there a magical foot? Wouldn't know I was the world's oldest living dragon now, would you? Asked Grizzelgor, turning around so they could see him from all sides. No, everyone cried. Don Don stood beside Grizzelgor, smiling proudly. Oh, Don Don, cried Lady Lobelia, beaming. You are my hero. Gracias, señorita, said Don Don, kissing her hand again. Oh, said Angus, this looks bad. Now the dragon turned to Don Don. Muchas gracias, Don Don, he said. You speak Spanish? Said Don Don, surprised. Si, said Grizzelgor. When you lived as long as I have, you speak everything, he smiled. All my gold is yours, Don Don. Take it. Gracias, said Don Don. Thank you, but it is not really your gold, is it? It is now, said Grizzelgor, and I give it all to you. Por favor, said Don Don. Please give it back to the schools. Grizzelgor rolled his eyes. All right, I shall. But how can I repay you, Don Don? I will help you think of something, Don Don, said Lobelia. Before Don Don could answer, a horse and rider appeared in the distance. Someone was riding toward the DSA. Who could that be? Asked Wiglaf. Erica squinted into the distance. It is Sir Lancelot, she cried. The once perfect knight rode up to where everyone was gathered outside of DSA. His steed sagged badly under his weight. Yet something about Sir Lancelot looked different now. For one thing, he had managed to squeeze into his armor. Oh, sir, cried Erica, how good to see you mounted upon your steed once more. Thank you, lass, he said. I wonder how glad his steed is of it, murmured Janice. You are in your armor, sir, said Wiglaf. Have you taken up the knightly life again? I have, said Sir Lancelot, and I watched enough of the Uno, dos tres method to know what to do. Soon I will look like the perfect knight again. What made you change your mind, sir? Asked Janice. It was the aged knight, said Sir Lancelot. Shh, said Erica. The dragon thinks they're kids like us. They showed me that being the best is not as important as trying your best, said Sir Lancelot. Now, that sounds like Sir Lancelot, cried Erica. I shall try my best to be a good knight, said Sir Lancelot. And I shall try my best to run Leon out of business and get my catalog going again. Oh, sir, cried Erica, tears of joy springing to her eyes. Thank you. Sir Lancelot nodded. Then he picked up his reins and his steed hobbled off toward the new adventures in the dark forest. Goodbye, sir, cried Erica. Goodbye. When Sir Lancelot was out of sight, Don Don turned to the dragon. Senor Grizzelgor, he said, I have thought of a way you can repay me. Anything, said Grizzelgor. Come back with me to ye old home for aged knights, said Don Don. You can have the whole second floor of the castle. 3 meals a day, said Grizzelgor. Don Don nodded. Fresh linens on the bed every week, said Grizzelgor. See, said Don Don. I will help you with your exercises, and in return, perhaps now and then you could spar with my aged knights. Let them feel the weight of the lance in their hands once more. Let them relive their glory days. Just for show, right? Said Grijugo. No wounds. No wounds, said Dondon. And on cold winter evenings, Puridov, they can recite your poem, complete with dance steps, added Sir Roger. It's a deal, cried Grizergo. Now Grizergo turned to Mordred. I shall never forget how good fortune smiled upon me here at Dragonslayer's Academy, he said. Mordred's violet eyes shone. Yes, dear dragon, and were you thinking perhaps of some reward? A small gift to the school, or a large one? We could name a new addition after you, the Grizzlegore Wing. How do you like the sound of that? Grizzlegore smiled a fangless smile. Perhaps I could leave DSA a little something in my will, he said. I was hoping for sooner, said Mordred. But you are very old, so who knows? Thank you, Dragon. Then Grizzelgo hopped onto the wagon. I'm a little too tucked out to fly, he said. Before Dondon climbed up into the driver's seat, he whispered to Wiglaf, tell the old lads to change back into their clothes. I will return for them, and Grizzelgo will never be any the wiser. Farewell, my dear Don, called Lady Lobelia, waving a sky-blue hanky. Adios, Senorita Lobelia, said Dondon. He blew her a kiss. I will be back to see you again. Then Dondon and the dragon drove off up Hunchman's Path. Come back and visit, Dondon and Grizzelgo called back to the students. We will, cried Janice. Farewell, Grizzelgo, Wiglaf and the others called after them. Everyone waved until the wagon had vanished from sight. Then everyone headed for the DSA castle. We did it, Wiggy, Erica said as they went. Thanks to the Gigers, as Janice wrapped her arm around Sir Puddledorf. Wiglaf looked up at DSA. It was filled with cobwebs and creeping, crawling bugs. The teachers were oddballs, and it was a daily challenge to swallow the food that Private cooked. Still, Wiglaf was very happy to be walking into the cold, dark, crumbling castle that was his school. We did, Wiglaf replied to his friends and to the old knights. We all saved the DSA from the dragon. The end.